So, you want to buy a dirt bike, do you? Go out riding in the wilds somewhere. Very good. Well, I'm going to make a quick video about the pitfalls of buying a dirt bike. There's lots of dirt bikes on the market, of course, and there's a couple flavors. There's enduros, and then there's full-on motocross, like this previously enjoyed specimen. Yeah. Well, there's a couple things to look for. This is a 2000, I believe it's a 2000 YZ125. It's a two-stroke. So this is a video for, like, beginners. If you've never gotten into dirt bikes, you know nothing about them, it's a great video for you. This isn't a great trail riding bike. It's a hell of a bike. It's a fun bike. Two-stroke, very light. Even though it's just a 125cc, they're quite exciting in second gear on full throttle. They really go like a bat out of hell. There's some things you should look for with the two strokes. The big one really is the compression on these things. Check for compression. Look at that. You move it with your hand. That's not right. You know, it should be a very stiff resistance as you go bump, bump, bump. Not like, I mean, this is like, there's no resistance there, so very worn top end. The compression on these things, they require piston once in a while. It's almost like a maintenance item, like doing tires. The only one I know of right now that sells in North America two-stroke motocross bikes is Yamaha. They still sell a YZ250, I believe, in 2023. There's a couple things you should look for with these. Check the rear wheel bearings for any slop side to side. Check the caliper for any slop. Pins worn. Look for coolant leaks on the water pump. There's a telltale hole here that indicates the mechanical seal is failing. Costs money. You can see the slop in there. Anyways, wheel bearings are pretty common. Then the swing arm bearings, and there's all these linkage bearings in the shock that fail. Grab the wheel and side to side, just like that. And you should not hear any clunking on the swing arm. That indicate needs swing arm bearings. Up and down. Lots of slop in those shock linkages right there. Like a lot. Because the water gets in there. People go swimming with these things, and the water ingress gets into the seals and the bearings. And the problem is the water gets into the bearings and it stays in there. It doesn't come out. So the front, you should check the front wheel bearing. This is probably the easiest wheel bearing to check on the whole thing, or to replace. There's also the headstock bearings. Take the forks, grab the bottom, lift it up, and back and forth. And if you feel a clunk in the top, the steering bearings need replacement. They should be greased anyway. Nobody does it. The Achilles heel with all these dirt bikes is these upside down forks. They get quite complicated. A seal change on these is about $300. You can do it yourself for, a good set of, always buy a good set of seals from Yamaha, and don't go with the Chinese stuff. Fork seals leaking like a sieve. You can see the oil all over the caliper. Check the fork seals. The bottoms of the fork, you'll see trace amounts. Even if you see a little bit just like that, it means it's on its way out, more than like. And all the bearings and everything you can buy Chinese. There's All Balls, there's Moose, there's a bunch of companies out there that source out Chinese bearings. But if you go to Yamaha, you can still buy all these bearings, and that's the best way to go. And you know, if you put a piston in this thing by yourself and you do all the bearings, it's going to set you back probably somewhere between $800 and $1,200. That's if the piston isn't scored. So the first thing you check on these two strokes when you go and purchase one, well, first feel that the motor isn't warm. So it shouldn't have been running before you got there. And then you kick it. You kick it over and see how easy that is. I can actually do it with my hand. It's just like there's nothing there. Now that should have very stiff resistance. And if there's no stiff resistance on that Kickstarter, that tells you immediately it needs a new piston. Now, the 4-stroke dirt bikes are different. That's not always the case if you have a kickstart on them and there's no resistance, because they do have centrifugal mechanisms in the camshafts to alleviate the hard starting with their small starters batteries, and their high compression pistons. So when it's just turning over a 4-stroke on the starter, there's a centrifugal mechanism in the cam that'll swing open and open the valves just slightly so that it makes it easier on everything. But these don't have that. These don't even have an electric start. They just have a kick. So if you can push that with your hand, any 2-stroke, you know the piston compression is pretty low and it's time for a rebuild. Now, fortunately, these things are designed so that, you know, you rebuild them. Now these forks are terrible. Like so it's funny, like no one explains why they do upside down forks. So they used to be right side up forks, just like this old motorcycle here. So the chrome part was at the top and the fork leg was at the bottom, and these are just inverted, and that's actually a name for them. This inverted forks. And so the chrome part's at the bottom, the slider, and the fork tubes at the top. The reason they done that is because then you get a stiffer fork, because you have a bigger diameter up top here on the triple tree. I mean, these are, I don't know how many millimeters here, but they're quite thick. The problem is, of course, the chrome is down there in the dirt, and the dirt gets on it, the mud and the rocks, and they leak. Like, you can do a set of fork seals, and then in 2 weeks they're leaking again after a couple rides. That's pretty typical. And they can be a bit of a bear to change, like the fork seals. They're not like those old forks where they're, you know, just regular. Those are very easy to do. Those just have a dampener in the bottom, and you know. But these ones, some of them require special tools. Well, I'd say actually most of them require special tools. And the reason you should buy the special tools is because if you don't buy the special tools and you screw it up, these parts are so expensive. Chain and sprockets completely worn out. Look at the hook on those teeth. You can see how it's biased towards one side. It's completely worn out. The front actually looks not bad. Check the brake pads. You can see the brake pads right through the spokes here. The one side of the brake pad, you can see the brake pad right there. And if it looks thin on one side, it's thin on the other. You can buy all the plastic for this thing and really spruce it up, by the way. Maybe a lot of people don't know that, I don't know, but you can buy like the front fender, the rear fender, these side radiator shrouds, and it looks just spectacular with new plastic. So UFO sells it, that's a company, FYI. And of course, as the bike ages, you know, the parts just go up and up, as you know, that's the way they do it. I mean, after 7 to 11 years, the prices for parts almost double, and then they become discontinued. So hopefully that helps, you know, for the uninitiated, you know, kind of a quick glimpse into what to look for. The other big thing I would add about when you're going to buy a dirt bike is that the dirt bikes in North America get stolen like you wouldn't believe. You can leave one in the back of your truck, go into the bar, and the way it goes, you know, that quick, just in the short span of a beer. Check the VIN numbers, check the, you know, the Carfaxes, and there's in Canada there's something called CPIC. You can go online and look on the database and see if there's any records. It's not definitive, it's not guaranteed to come up with a record if it is stolen, so it's always a bit of a crapshoot. Make sure the numbers look legit. These should always be obviously all perfectly stamped in the frame. I've seen stolen ones where they're, you know, the letters are actually crooked, which is kind of tragic comedy, really. But yeah, and as far as these bikes are concerned, like this YZ250 and this Husky behind me, which is really cool bikes. I mean, they're a bunch of hair-raising front. I think Travis Pastrana jumped off the building in Las Vegas with one of these. So they're pretty intense motorcycles, or they can be. But they don't make good trail riding bikes. You know, bikes like the XT250 Yamaha, the XT225. You know, there's a little XR200 out there you can buy. And they're good because you can put your feet down flat on the ground, and they're 4-strokes, so they're easy maintenance. They're old school Dinosaur air-cooled engines with very good torque down at the bottom end, which is what you want if you're trail riding. You don't want to be, you know, up on a goat trail and trying to get up the hill and then, you know, have to get in that power band to get out. Although these new 2-strokes with the power bands, they are pretty good. They're really good. But yeah, so for the beginner, you know, I'd recommend a 4-stroke anyway. And yeah, happy shopping, and I'll have more videos coming up. So hit like, subscribe, and then I'll chat with you later. Thanks for watching.